I guess we all seen the letter that went out from at least the district. Mike, do you have any, do you want to comment or?
Well, I would hope that the county, if we have a concern, would do a letter and send it. I know if we don't respond, it's considered a yes to be approved. So if that's the case, that's fine. But in cases where we don't approve, we probably should respond in a formal manner to both the planning commission and the governing body.
So what do you think, guys? Obviously, we've got concerns as it relates to our districts that provide services as a county legislative body. What?
I haven't been able to set up a meeting with the mayor yet. I know we were looking at 4th Wednesday, and I hope we, or the 5th Wednesday, the last
31st. So have we heard anything? I have not heard anything.
He's hard to get a hold of. I mean,
I know in Ron's email he asked that they contact me, but I have not heard anything. And if I need to reach out to the mayor or someone on the city council, or if you were, I know you were.
I would like to try to. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I think that's.
So that meeting they had with their planning commission, that started the clock ticking.
Well, in that schedule, I thought I had that in here.
It's built, so.
I know it.
So the two areas of concern, it seems like for Ron was Jumping Mill Road and North Village. But Jumping Mill Road already showed up in their existing map. Nothing there really changes. And I think if they ever tried that, the public were notified and involved, knowing that their taxes would go up over the living, Triple Crown, and Cobblestone. I think they would show up in masses and maybe oppose it. So I would like to see the public get a little more involved. The annexation and to hear their voices. Well, we have our opinions, 7 of us, but you know, if it actually push came to shove with Jumping Mill Road or doing North Village, I can see the public show up and either support it or just shoot it down.
One concern I have, and I totally agree with what was just said, one concern I have, much of that area east of Mill Road is already developed.
Yeah.
And they're in the process right now. It would only make sense to me that they ought to address that issue. If it's developed, there is no purpose for annexation. Now, not all of it is, but most of it is. And I think almost all of it is along the line. Maybe some further east that's not, but I think everything along Mill Road, except for one parcel that I'm aware of, is developed.
So the discussion we had in our district meeting the other night at Twin Creeks was that very thing. Any of the residents that are east of Mill Road should be very concerned that if someone wanted to annex, or if there were in the zone of influence or whatever we call it, that not only are your taxes going to go up, there's already development there, and it would increase density and population and everything in an area where you are, because your zoning requirements are.
But here's the concern. I live there.
Yeah.
So many of my neighbors have called me, and they've told me they have called Heber City, but they have no representation in Heber City. You're their only representation.
Yeah.
And Heber City's position is, we don't have to, I'm paraphrasing and I'm maybe a little off, but they don't have to listen to that. But they never asked any of these property owners if they wanted to be included in their area. None of them were asked if they would want to be included in this potential annexation area. Not that they have to. Heber City has the ability to do it, but from a proper social aspect, you would think you would talk to people if you're going to try to include them in an area that would raise their taxes.
Well, it was kind of like the discussion last night. The sheriff, or chief, was a little put out that he didn't get included. I thought he had been more than what he assumed he had been. But he was kind of put out that the city hadn't been involved in the Craig decision. Well, this is another department, but it's just every bit as much. We ought to be just as put out, I guess.
Which one of us is your representative? Is it Greg?
Yeah.
Greg.
Because I cover.
Well, Greg and Steve and Mom.
Well, yeah.
Everybody has 3.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone. Yeah, those 2.
But they included your area Clear back in 2006.
Yeah, most of this is in the east, because all the Jordanelle Basin, except for the west side of Highway 40, is in the east district of Wasatch.
So really what our discussion should be limited to tonight is any expansion of the map.
Which is North Valley.
Because they've already approved.
Well, I think it's valid to talk about any of it, only because it's the discussion
I
on
think
its
they have to
agenda.
resubmit the map to the state. I think the process is if they address the issue, they have to resend the map to the state. So essentially, everything's on the table once you start.
So even something that was approved previously can be pulled out of that if there's enough. Okay.
What is
So they can take it
the
out
city's
where-
responsibility to do this zone of influence map?
They're required to
They're
have it.
required.
Absolutely.
And why is that?
There's a state code that does require it, and I'm not sure, my understanding is they're required to have that, but I know they cannot perform an annexation that is not shown on such a map.
Right.
So if there were an area that was not within that annexation, that proposed annexation map area, they could not annex.
So is this, I've got a sneaky suspicion that most of this north and east area, the reason they are redoing the map is because they've been approached by property owners in that area, interested in annexing, but it's not currently on the map, and so they're gonna redo the map.
No, they claim they have been.
But they
have.
That's not expanded though, is it?
So I'm not talking about
This isn't.
that whole thing, this whole swath
This
is clear
is.
as a dam.
This is all new.
That's a huge piece of land, where we have,
Oh, here's the old.
oh, okay.
I got you.
Where we have water and sewer services already in place, so.
They've reduced the map previously. It's happened in years past. The proposed annexation area was much further east a long time ago than it is now because of people complaining.
So when have they set a public hearing on this, or have they moved forward past that?
Well, their schedule, the schedule they had in that meeting on the 27th, which I attended and Mike attended, on April, they kind of established their order. On April 27th, the Planning Commission should listen to comments provided by obtaining affected entities, and no action is necessary by the Planning Commission. Affected property owners will also likely be attending the meeting, and the Planning Commission may, but is not obligated to hear comments from them and the public. So that's the October 27th meeting.
But no property owners were notified.
April
There was not a map in the way. No property owners were notified that are of my neighbors that I've talked with. None of them were notified.
And none of your way.
I can't speak to the Jordan.
Yeah.
I don't know the Jordan.
There were a few there, but not. And then May 11th would be the appropriate time for the Planning Commission to consider revising the proposed map as well as discuss potential land use amendments to the general plan. I didn't see it on their agenda for May 11th unless they've added it in the last couple of days.
So that would be obviously tomorrow.
Tomorrow, and I'll look again tonight, but last time I looked, so they may be honored the request I made in that meeting on the 27th, that they hold off until we can meet with the city.
We ought to, it should be posted now, because somebody, I can't get it on the internet, somebody,
And then June 8th is the tentative date for the Planning Commission to hold the public hearing. So based on the input they get in that May 11th meeting, whatever, then June 8th is the date for a Planning Commission to hold the public hearing, modifying the plan if appropriate, and provide a recommendation to the City Council. As well as hold a public hearing to amend the land use element of the general plan. And then July 6th or July 20th would be the tentative date the City Council would hold a public hearing and adopt the plan with or without modifications.
Well, it seems to me that if nothing else is we need to address the city council for sure in a meeting on the 31st. If we can make that happen, that would be good.
Well, the mayor was open to it, but it's pinning him down and getting a meeting set.
Yeah, I don't see anything on the planning commission about it.
When I looked the other
It would be
day,
a planning commission meeting currently.
yeah,
Correct.
that's what it says on here. And when I looked, it wasn't there yet, so they maybe honored the request I made that hold off.
Will you reach out again, and then if I'll try and get a hold of someone as well to see
I
if
will
we
reach
can set
out
up.
to the mayor again.
Because Ron did put on behalf of the district and being the chair, he put my name on the letter I seen, so. Okay, any other discussion on the Heber City annexation policy plan
The
or questions or
the
concerns?
comment that I made 2 or 3 weeks ago in the discussion was about specific annexation. Like we would have to go to boundary commission, remember we had that long discussion about what's the procedure and all that, but then what would our argument be? And at the time, I thought that our argument was that we didn't trust Heber City to manage the density as well as we would. I don't know if that's a strong enough argument to make. And then on the points
Something you
about-
make, they might not buy it, but you can always make it.
Well, I think that the county provided something different than what the city would provide as far as services and densities. But what you're saying is that isn't a.
I don't know if it, I think, if I could use the term, I think Mike Kohler's terminology that he used a year or so ago was the county provides a better rural product than the city provides.
Just a comment on that. The general definition of purpose of annexation is to provide services. If the area, such as the Twin Creeks Special Service District, is established and provides those services, technically, there are no more services to provide.
How does that square with Red Legend stuff?
Such as what?
Well, Twin
That was
Creek
an
Special
agreement.
Service District,
That was an
Providing
agreement
services.
between the city and the county, and then they went ahead, right?
It was an area
Or
though,
with the district and the,
what I'm saying is what's the difference?
one specific project.
So that's what we did.
it was an area that did not have those services.
We had an agreement on the amount of density up there. It would not exceed what
What the county zoning
would
require.
allow.
But there was one other provision that was very different. That area had to be annexed into Twin Creeks at that time. It did not exist as an area of Twin Creeks.
So it wasn't part of Twin Creeks. So it
So,
wasn't part of the city either at the time.
no.
It was county.
So as part of the agreement, because they come to the county and there were densities established for that, and then the purchase of the property, the city was pushing them pretty hard. And so an agreement was reached that the property owner then gave the county $5 million, which was in compensation for the additional density that was put in place. At the time, we had a provision that you could buy additional density. And that's what it equated out to, was $5 million. And so we were giving that up, but only under the provision that they would allow it to be annexed into Twin Creeks Special Service District property. And they were agreeable to that because the city could not provide the services to the property. They had no means.
So they went into the Twin Creeks Special Service District and then were annexed into the city after our services were provided.
Yep.
And it's one project. One landowner,
Very
one
different
project.
scenario. Very different.
Up here, you've got
So what I don't understand.
multiple landowners, multiple.
Right, and like you have North Village, for example. North Village Special Service District. But if you're a property owner and you want to be in the city for whatever reason, then what is the harm to the county? The Special Service District isn't harmed because we're still providing the services. They're just like any other customer. as far as
Not
special service.
necessarily.
They're a customer.
We're harmed in the sense that they increased the density. The special service district was built out based on the total amount of density.
Right.
If for some reason they increase that oversizes or that overreaches our ability to deliver.
Right, but then if we're not capable of providing the service, if the Special Service District can't provide over X number of VRUs, then the city is responsible for providing those services.
If they run the services to them.
They would have to, or the services would have to be expanded in a special
Yeah, and
service.
when you look at it that sense, it may not be economically feasible to annex them. For
But
that,
that's-
for
but
that
that's-
increased density.
Right, but that's their concern, not our concern.
Yeah.
So we're just providing
I see what you're saying. I mean,
I mean,
if a property owner doesn't want to deal with the county and they want to deal with the city because they're going to be.
Yeah.
See, my guess is they didn't approach Victory Ranch, even though it's not too far from this boundary because the value's already there. Wouldn't make sense.
Right.
These folks are looking at a higher density, more project, more dollars for them.
I like everything in the letter that Ron said. My objection was the final paragraph. I don't think we should refer to the gentleman's agreement because it was never written. It's whatever somebody remembers it to be. And there's not one member of this council or one member of the Heber City Council that are still.
But they're very aware of it because they mentioned it in the public meeting on the
But they violated
27th.
it 2 years ago. So,
Well, you mean with the WIP thing?
yeah.
Yeah, but we worked with them on it and kind of said,
We did,
well,
they
if you violated
came
this-
here and we went there. I mean, I don't disagree with you, Danny, but there has been
And I think
a line
that's why-
drawn kind of in
That's
this.
why we put in that letter, under individual circumstances, we work with them.
Well, and that's why we're talking about violating it again, possibly with the,
Cook.
moving it to the canal line instead of Mill Road, to pick up that triangular piece that maybe makes sense.
I might add, there are no agreements that say that the service district will provide those services upon annexation. There is no requirement. And the possibility of making those service districts unviable because they're taking pieces of a pie that was considered to make the thing viable, there are no guarantees in
Okay.
the annex that that has to happen.
See, I don't understand the finances on that argument. If you're built out and you said, okay, there's gonna be 100 customers here, and if Heber City annexes these 10, then the price for the remaining 90 go up. But as far as the special service district is concerned, as long as you're still providing the services to all 100, you're still getting all the fees.
But if I'm the property owner in the district, and when the district was established, we go to a hearing. And in the hearing, we say, because of the potential of providing this service to this area and this number of people, your service is going to cost in this range. And based on that, I say, I'm in. And now we allow an entity to take half of that away.
Then the
Wait,
then the
how are they taking it away?
possibility no longer exists.
No, because they're still
They provide
providing.
their own services.
Yeah, okay, if they're providing their own service.
Well, what happened on the WIT annexation?
There was
There's
no
the
ser-
example.
Was there any services being provided through the WIT annexation?
Not yet, because that was not developed. And as soon as it was annexed, who provided the services? In Twin Creek Special Services. There's your example. There is no other example. That is the example.
So
And so by diminishing that, now my cost goes up. And that wasn't explained in the hearing. That wasn't explained in everything that the county or the establishment of the district agreed to at the time. So, yes, if they took the whole district,
Right.
that wouldn't happen.
So what you're
That's
saying
not what's being
is,
proposed.
you're saying future potential. You're not saying current customers. If they're a current customer of
Current
the district.
customers doesn't change a thing.
Yes, it does, because the current customer, if you're a current customer and you're paying in to the district, the harm will come is if Heber says, get off of those district sewer and water lines and come onto our lines. That's where we're financially harmed.
That could be a problem, yeah.
That's the same issue, really.
But I can't imagine you'd want to pay for it twice, but I guess
I
it
can't
could.
either.
I guess it could.
I can't either.
If you're, that's why I don't believe it went any farther than it did. If you're already there and you've already got the services and you're already connected, it doesn't make sense for you. It's the people who are looking to either expand with higher densities or haven't developed yet. That's
Now-
where,
And you got another issue, what if one of those property owners is requesting or looking at annexation into the city? Because by doing that, it possibly in effect would get him to negate an agreement he's already made with the county that's gonna cost him a chunk of money.
that's what I said. It's financially in the best interest of the developer. That's the only reason they want
But
to do it.
does that, and I guess here's a Scott question, if they've got an agreement, for example, to build a road out of their development, and by going into the city, does that negate that agreement that they made to build that road?
Planning and zoning is all negated. If it's annexed, it has to be annexed into a existing zone that the city has, whatever that may be.
Now it's the city's requirement, not the
They can't
county.
annex a property and say it isn't zoned yet.
Right.
They have to annex it into a
Into it,
zone.
so they would have to create a zone before
And
they
whatever
can-
planning takes
whatever it is.
place has to be.
So it would negate then an agreement they had with the prior zone.
Usually that's going to be based on your master plan and your road plan, and if they're putting more density in just by the very nature of it, that's going to change.
Again, Red Ledges was the example because there was no zone. Heber City had no way of having open space. They had nothing in the ordinance that allowed open space. And so for us to agree for that to be annexed, they had to create a zone that allowed for open space in the Red Ledges for that to happen, for us to agree to it, which they did, and we agreed. And so there is no zone currently in Heber City that fits the North Village zone the way it currently is. There's things that are similar or different, but there is none, so you can be sure that it would be different than what it is.
Yeah. And so there's a reason why someone might choose to.
Oh, no, I understand why somebody would want to go in. I mean, as a citizen might, if he, I mean, the financial thing for him to do, if he's thinking about money, is to be annexed into the city because he can get greater density potentially, if he wanted to sell. But can we go back to WIT for a moment? And can you explain this to me because I guess I just didn't catch it. That wasn't being provided any services, so no one was paying anything towards the special service district yet.
Now, the sewer lines out there, right, was within the stone's throw of it.
Were they,
The trailer.
was
Actually, went right in front of it.
Was WIT property part of Twin Creeks, were they paying part of the assessment of Twin Creeks? Is that property?
No. For blank property, it wasn't included in any bond. There was no payment for anybody. The payment comes, the example would be like the property called Grandview on 2400 East and 2400 South. They would like to develop, at least they have over the last 10 years. I mean, it's been talked and not talked. A sewer line has to be built to that property. There are a couple ways it could be done. One way is to come up 2400 South. The other way is to come down 2400 East. Okay?
And we've talked about that.
If the properties, the cheap way is to go down 2400 South. If the properties get annexed up 2400 South, then either they have to annex in to connect to the line, because even though the city says it doesn't matter if a district can provide services, a county district can provide services to the city does not allow its services to provide county residences. They're very specific in that. So now they have to build their sewer line to the north, which will cost much more money to do that, unless they annex into Heber City and also do the same thing. That's my point of why the harm is done as it's eaten up. Is the district, the boundaries of the district are eaten up. The cost to develop future services for the undeveloped properties goes up.
Okay, the future cost goes up because you're not dispersing the load. Because when the WIT and the Kaiser piece went to Heber, you weren't harmed financially immediately. You were harmed potentially in the future because if you want to develop and stay in the district, your costs have now gone up because had we kept WIT in the county only and not in the city, and they developed, then their payment towards the district would help offset your future payment.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
But I agreed to allow my property to be included in the district to help the cost of the ones that exist now. Because the viability of the district is based upon how many potential future customers you have. Okay. And so if we had to have included all of Twin Creek's boundary, whatever costs are there would have been higher. Not a lot at this point, but certainly higher because there's a shared cost for other lines as they go through these other properties. We have run a water line now and a sewer line down Mill Road. And those other properties benefit off of that line. They help pay for it.
So if you want to develop your property in the future, if Heber keeps annexing, then really your best financial choice is to go in Heber just to be able to afford it. Because the costs have gone up so much because it's not dispersed amongst all those other properties.
That might be.
I'm really trying to understand the financial harm.
If I want to develop my property, I would have a hard time developing under Heber's guidelines. I don't like it. Maybe I wouldn't have that choice. Maybe I'd sell my property and then somebody else develops. I guess that's a potential. I don't think there's a question that if property gets the city densities, they can sell it for more money. I get that. I think you're right when you say, if all things equal, it really doesn't make any difference
Well-
from a county revenue standpoint, whether it's in the city or it's not in the city.
The way
Makes
I
no
look at it,
difference, that we collect the same revenue off the property taxes.
the way I look at it is what you said, just when the district was created, everybody said, okay, I'm in. They did that based on the boundaries of the district. And if you chip away here and there and here and there at the district, I'm not saying that specific one harmed anybody, but if the more you do one here and one there and
Well,
one,
it has to, I mean, if 10 can harm and 1 must, it's just a smaller amount.
that's what okay.
I got you.
Oh, okay. I guess that's where I look at
Yeah.
it. Is we all said, or someone at some point said, I'm in. But now we're changing the game down the road because the city decided they didn't like the boundaries.
So the way it works,
Or they wanted to supply that
the
service.
first mover gets the best financial benefit because they get annexed into Heber and then they're out of the district. They don't have to pay towards the district.
I guess I would also say that we all know there's risk associated with raising your hand saying, I don't know. You can never say you're going to be.
I can say my property's a little teeny player in the scheme of all of this.
I'm looking at you as the, doesn't need to be you, could be your neighbor.
But it's an example.
But still,
of the concern, because that's where because Mike knows it so well, that's why I really want to
Yeah.
understand how it harms him, because it would harm somebody else the same way.